She'll start.
You have
She'll go first.
yes. You don't mind?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Good.
Anything goes.
Good.
Just go with the flow.
After you enjoy, the most important. 你錯咗啦，阿妹妹。呢個先啱，後面嗰個先啱。係啊。換咗啦。好啦。This is rather exactly in and then I actually is working for the CityU.
Yes.
So this is also
Yeah, thank you so much.
Can I ask you to share something about
Iran, yeah, definitely. Because I went to Iran to see our social enterprise, just in August, recently. I was in my home country for the first time in my life, so it was amazing. It was amazing.
I live in Belize. I've only been around for
I'm not quite sure. Okay, sounds good.
So, can I use this?
Yes. Actually, they
Hello?
also give us
This one is wireless.
yeah.
It might be easier to use now, just for safety reasons.
Testing. Good morning, everybody. Our section will start at 3 minutes later. 3 minutes, OK. So 我會3分鐘之後開始呢一節嘅環節。咁請大家找尋適當位置坐低啦，唔該。
She's good. I saw her video last night after she talked to me about
Which one? The TEDx?
yeah.
Ah. How can you do so many things?
I sleep less. And how about you, Mr. Young?
I know, yeah.
How is she?
He is 1 year old, and my mom is looking after her, and he's fine.
So we can see how quick is the conclusion from the elderly.
Exactly, but my mom's not elderly. She's very young.
40?
She's like 56.
You know how old my mother is? 57.
No.
You guess how old I am?
No, let's not play that game.
No. Please try. How old is she?
I'm not 40.
Let's see. Maybe like 48.
48. How about you?
No, well, if your mom's 97, then you must be like, she's the magic one. I mean, you must be like, I don't know, you must be in your early 50s.
Next year, I will be 60.
Wow, that's amazing.
And not for my
But you know, I don't think that's all. I think it's the fact that you have a very young spirit. Like I was saying to Iman, you do. I was watching you yesterday, both at the dinner and in the day.
Yes.
And you were so, thank you, you're so like, you have a good humour. And you have a really informal way about you, which makes you relatable and
Wait for your
approachable.
blessing.
No, but I think that
Yep.
I really do. I think that makes people much younger than that care or one year.
Great.
Okay.
But we have this, okay.
Okay, so shall we? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Shall we start this section? And first of all, welcome to the section about reframing what? Reframing, talking about social entrepreneurship at schools. I think we all believe and also consider that if we start our so-called brainstorming, dream making during our young people at the school, it's better than after you graduate from the schools, then push you to think wild, to think out of the box. So we believe that education is the foundation of all new knowledge and experience. So I think today we are going to have two wonderful speakers from not mainstreaming countries, I can tell, not mainstreaming countries. Although Melody stays in UK nowadays, but actually she's from Iran. So you can see how pretty an Iran lady here. Give her a big hand. And the point is that she missed her young son very much, who is only 1 year old. But she just returned from Iran to talking about social entrepreneurship in August. And then now come to here to share with us how she created a social enterprise in UK and how she make all the effort to really create an inspiration to help the young people in UK to really think not risky, but dreamy and also wildly. And for Alberto, handsome? Yes. So today we have a very wonderful young guy and young lady. And Alberto is not from USA, but from the Central America, Belize. I think for some years ago, we have so many advertisements on the newspaper talking, welcome to migrate to Belize. Remember? 歡迎移民到百靈茲. And then so, he's from there, but he's very strong in internet, IT, technical development. How he will share how he can, use the gift from God and also from what he learned to connect the young people together and then to create a more impact on younger generation. Of course, I have to introduce myself. I'm Timothy. I'm the executive director of the Project Fame of the CityU University of Hong Kong. And then Project Fame is a social innovation project that started 3 years ago in the CityU. And then we are very happy to have gateway education courses and also a hand tool spot recycle upcycling second-hand shop in the CityU University. We employ our student to be the entrepreneur who runs the business. And then we also co-work with the Standard Chartered Bank and also the GCSE to create the CMARC, the Social Enterprise Endorsement Scheme. And finally, we also bring our students to have a social enterprise visit locally and overseas. So this summer, we brought 12 students to Singapore and have 4 weeks internship at 4 social enterprises in Singapore. So we all 3 people here are involved in education. So that's why we're talking about social entrepreneurship at schools. And then I would suggest that maybe first we will invite Melody to talking about her social enterprise and her mission, her social greatness. And then after that, then Alberto will share his IT powerful engine. And then maybe you will have a lot of questions you want to raise. Please mark down at your paper so that you can raise after we finish the dialogue section. And even though you want to speak your question in Chinese, you are much welcome because we have the SI in the back. And for those who cannot understand English, please feel free to take the SI unit so that you can listen to the Cantonese translation. So, how about may I introduce and have Melody go first?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank
Yes.
you very much. Did I take that?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you. Okay, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor being here in Hong Kong. I've never been in Hong Kong before. I've been to Japan, Indonesia. We've worked across East Asia, but we haven't been to Hong Kong before. And it's so beautiful. And I've been walking the streets and really taking in the culture in terms of how people shop, what they buy, the style, how people look at each other, what they eat, where they sit, the speed of the city, and how people show respect, how they say greetings and hello, and it's fascinating. So it's really a pleasure being here, so thank you for having me. So my name is Melody Hossaini. I'm the founder and CEO of InspirEngage International. What I'm going to do today in the time that I have is to share with you a little bit about what I do, but only a little bit. The main bulk of my presentation is going to be focusing on how we can really reform education. How can we change the face of education to be much more relevant and helpful to young people, and through the use of social enterprise. And I'm going to share with you some examples for how we can do that, and I would definitely welcome at the end your thoughts, remarks, comments, ideas and questions. Whatever you have, I want to hear it afterwards. That would be brilliant. Can I just ask you first of all, how many people here are social entrepreneurs? Put your hand up if you are a social entrepreneur. Okay, very few. That's interesting. What do the rest of you do? So how many people here are professionals? So you're working, but you're not a social entrepreneur. Okay, a few. How many people here are students? Okay, one. Really, what the rest of you do? You're just, what do you do? What group do you fall into?
Well, I retired many years ago, and I'm trying to find some way to do good to something.
You retired?
You retired? Tell me how you were retired at your age. You're a lady of leisure, and you come along and...
I came today, to explore something.
How many people are here to explore and learn? Okay, now I really want to know what the rest of you do. Come and see me after, because I'm interested. So whatever it is you're here for, thank you for being here and for engaging with us in this discussion, because I think it's really important. And I think that all of you, regardless of what group you fall into, have such a power to create change, and we can do that together, so I welcome that. So my name is Melody Hossaini, and what I have done is all around this, doing well by doing good. That's our strapline at InspirEngage. So I was born in Iran, which is a country in the Middle East, and I was born during the Gulf War when the bombs were dropping between Iraq and Iran. And a few streets down from where I lived, our neighbor's house got actually bombed. So it was very, very close to my family, and my mom decided that she wanted us to have a better life and have better opportunities. So we actually fled by land across a really long journey all the way to Sweden, where I grew up. So we got to Sweden, and I spent 11 years in Sweden. In my school, I was the only non-Swedish person, which was a real culture shock. Not as much of a culture shock as moving to England. So in Sweden, one day there was a knock at the door, and I ran to open the door, and it was a man with a gun, and he pushed me and my brother down. He tied us up and gagged us, and we were thrown into a closet, and he said, if your mom comes home, we're going to kill her. And they were sent by people we knew to take something very specific, which they took. And we had that incident when I was 12 years old and my brother was 11. And then my mum thought we need a new change. So we moved to England when I was 13 years old. When I was 13 years old, and I came from this background from Iran, and I grew up in Sweden, which has such a focus on social justice, I became very passionate about finding better ways of doing things. I just always thought there just must be more to life than going to school and coming home, which is mostly what you do when you're 13, if you're privileged enough to have the opportunity to go to school, which I had. But I was sitting one day, I always used to sit at my desk and look out the window, and there was this tree, and I used to just think, like, there just is more. There's more I can do, there's more to life, there's more that we can do. So I became a co-founder of the most successful democratic youth organization in the world. It's called UK Youth Parliament. And I used to sit at these meetings when I was 13 in the Houses of Parliament discussing frameworks and petitions and strategies. And because English was my third language, I didn't understand many of these words. I used to be like you, write it down and go home. And there wasn't Google at the time. I didn't have like the access. But I used to be very scared and very much out of my comfort zone. Imagine 13, 14 years old sitting at these meetings, having these discussions. But what I did understand was the vision. I understood that we are about to create change. And change we did create. Like education became free for 16 and under-year-olds because of our campaign. Sex and relationship education became compulsory and a better standard because of the campaign that the young people ran. And there were so many amazing people involved in that. But then I stayed involved. I became the first female to be chair of the Board of Trustees. We created a lot of change. We even had a meeting with Tony Blair in his office when England was going to go to war in Iraq, and we asked him, why are we going to war? You know, we did a lot of things that created change and impact. But I went and did a law degree, and 2 weeks before I graduated, I had a place at Oxford Institute of Legal Practice to go and train to be a solicitor, which I worked very, very, very hard for to get. I remember going back to university 3-4 weeks before everybody else started the year, just to get ahead and study, because English wasn't my first language. Education, formal education doesn't come naturally to me. I'm a creative person that is all about creating change. I found education too rigid, but I had to do it to get my degree, and a good degree. So I worked very hard, and 2 weeks before I graduated, I contacted Oxford Institute of Legal Practice and I said, look, just hold my place for a year. I want to go and explore my passion, because I've been volunteering for 11 years in the youth sector and building up like a wealth of expertise and networks. So I did that. So I went and worked in the youth sector and never looked back. And I then set up InspirEngage International in 2009. So Dr. Eric Shivian, who I had the pleasure of speaking with, who's a Nobel Peace Prize winner, he said this: InspirEngage International is training young people how best to tackle the leading social justice and culturally dividing challenges of our time. When I read that, I thought, oh, wow, he's really setting the bar high. It's scary. But that is definitely what we try and do. We try and create change. We are facilitators of change. So what do? So InspirEngage International, we have a portfolio in over 100 different countries. We have reached over 1 million people. And what we do is a range of services that support individuals to develop the mindset and skills to create change. We want you to be successful. We want people to make money. But we also want you to be able to create change and to be socially responsible. That is key to whatever you do. Whether you're a social entrepreneur or not, I don't care. It is about being socially responsible. And that is a strong message. But it also is about us as an organization being responsible to support you to be that, to help people to be that. But I think the key thing is happiness. I think when you talk about education and when we talk about careers, people forget to talk about happiness. Like, happiness is very underrated, I think. People shouldn't talk about happiness in work. We want you to be happy. Isn't that why we work? Isn't that why we study? Isn't that why we help people? Is to create happiness in others and for us to be happy? Like, that's what we're working towards. And I think it's okay to say that we want to be happy and we're helping people to be happy. That's why we want you to fulfill your mission. That's why we want you to go out and do things. And happiness comes from making a difference, creating impact. I call it feeding the soul. You know, you work to feed yourself, but I call it you feed your soul, because if you feed your soul, it creates such a big change. So that's the main thing. And we do that in lots of different programs. So social enterprise, you all know what social enterprise is. At InspirEngage International, we define it as a business with a good cause. In its simplest terms, that's what it is. It's a business with a good cause. But we came up with 3 slogans at InspirEngage. Social enterprise is when your head and your heart work together. Social enterprise is when going to work is your good deed of the day. And finally, social enterprise is when your job feels as good as this. Freshly cut grass, bubbles flowing, and you're barefoot. It's as good as this feeling, you know? So that's what social enterprise is to us. So the 3 programs that we run at InspirEngage International are these. Firstly, I'll go to the middle one, Social Enterprise Revolution. Social Enterprise Revolution is the UK's first program that embeds social enterprise into the curriculum in a really hands-on way. So what does that mean and what does that look like? So we launched that in 2013. Here's how we see the future of education. If a young girl or a young boy, let's say Julie, is anybody here called Julie? No? Okay, that would be a coincidence. I just said that. So let's say Julie is studying construction, okay? So she can use her skills in construction to go out into the community. We had a partnership with the police, the local police in that area, who said that here's a vulnerable person in the community who needs something fixing. Julie would then, through our program, develop the skills to set up a social enterprise providing services that she is studying and has skills in. She would then go and fix something for this vulnerable person in the community. She would earn a few pounds from it, some money, and she would make a difference. But here's the beautiful connection to education, is that her work would be assessed as part of the curriculum. Yeah? So what that does, it makes learning real. It isn't just about sitting in the classroom and not making the connection between what you're studying and what you could be doing. But importantly for us, it's you're making a difference using your skills. That also helps bridge the gap between education and work, which really helps us to decrease the number of young people in unemployment, because they are going out there and they're learning that I can make money from my skills. That's an important thing, and it makes them feel valuable. So that's what Social Enterprise Revolution is. We pioneered it with colleges, but we run that from schools to university level around the world. We actually took it and pioneered it in Jordan, in the Middle East as well, and we are expanding that. So I would welcome any thoughts that you have on how we could expand that here in this region also. Primary Revolution is the same program, but for 4 to 11-year-olds in primary school. You might be thinking, Melody, that sounds crazy. They are so young, how can they possibly engage with that? But honestly, I'm not making this up. Some primary school level children who were 11 that we worked with, 10, they were more understanding of what social enterprise means than some of the university level that we worked with. And maybe that's because it almost beats it out of you, that passion for community down the line, and that you become so worried about making money and being successful that you forget your raw passion for helping people. But children have that. They're like, of course you give back to the community, Melody, that's just what we do. So it was amazing. And if you don't believe what that looks like, I'm going to show you a video so you can see it. So in 2011, I became the first ever social entrepreneur to appear on BBC's The Apprentice programme. Have any of you heard of The Apprentice? The You're Fired one? But I bet you've watched the American one, right? The Donald Trump one. Have you ever seen the English one?
No.
No? Okay, well I appeared on that. So 75,000 people applied, and they choose 8 girls and 8 boys. And it's like a 2.5-month process for the interviews, and I got onto the show. There's 12 rounds, and I got to week 10 out of 12. And the reason I went on the show is because I wanted to bring something new to the table. It's a very corporate dog-eat-dog business world, The Apprentice. It portrays that. And I wanted to bring something different, a social enterprise, to this world. Although I didn't win the show, I've been able to utilize that platform, and we've also been campaigning for BBC programs and major television shows to showcase social enterprises more, that there is kindness in business. It doesn't have to be like a dog-eat-dog world. The business world is changing. So that's and it was such an interesting experience. And that headline there, The Guardian, I write for The Guardian, I love The Guardian, I'm a Guardian reader, and they printed this on their front page. The others might as well give up now with my picture on it. Literally the highlight of my life. So the social enterprise revolution. So social enterprises are a powerful force, changing the dynamic of business. Some of the stats shared earlier by Tristan from the British Council, I was going to share in this, so I don't need to because a lot of you were in that session. But really now, there is such a growth in job creation. And I think it's worth noting as well that social enterprises, in the UK anyway, the commercial business sector, so the normal business sector, now has a 16% or so CEO level lead for women. The social enterprise sector has a 49% CEO level. 91% of social enterprise senior leadership teams have at least one woman in them. That is an incredible thing. Why is that important? Because it's changing the dynamic of the business world. Women are a lot more tuned. This is not an opinion, this is a neuropsychologist's fact. That women are a lot more tuned to networking. You know, they connect things like that much better than men. And they're also very attuned to service, which is why women are very attracted to the social enterprise sector. And also with young people, we're seeing a massive kind of figure of young people entering into social enterprise. Why? And that is because they're taking a step from their volunteering in the community, which they're so passionate about, into turning it into their career, which was my own personal journey. So, no, also your journey, Sophie. So I think that's also very important. So, do I have a video set up somewhere? Because I should have shown it here, I think. Okay, so I think it's going to come up now. Okay, I want to show you, before I go on to talk about the new age education, I want to show you our Primary Revolution program in action, just so you can see a flavor of what it looks like when we worked with these 10 to 11-year-olds who are better at maths than me, by the way. And I explain a little bit in the video. Thank you, I'll press it, brilliant. I explain in the video what it is, but I just wanted to get a flavor.
Hossaini. I'm the founder and CEO for InspirEngage International, and a massive, massive focus for us is social enterprise. If individuals can develop their skills, start thinking about their careers, creating jobs, but also, whilst doing so, also think about the communities that they live in, how we can help people and causes, then that's the way forward.
Who here wants to make money? Yeah, to make money to yeah. Right. Who here, as a career, wants to help the community? Okay, a few people. Who here, if you could, would want to make money out of helping people? Oh.
You got that, Jason. Where am I going? I think we're okay there.
Oh, making our plans for selling stuff.
Yeah,
Like, you know, when you had to sell the white bag, I thought that was really fun.
For now, you're going to be I'm going to set you a mini social enterprise task. We're running the social enterprise revolution, not business as usual, connecting enterprise education to communities. And we've developed a strand of that, which is primary revolution. Primary revolution is for primary schools and how they can start thinking about social enterprise, get ready to launch their own social enterprises that generate profit, put into the cause, putting the primary schools on the community map. So today we've been at a primary school here and working with the students, and I've been blown away by how naturally, they just understand social enterprise. Like, yeah, of course you give back to the community. That's just what you do. And their passion, their energy, so many of them. We had one like 10-year-old who already came with a social enterprise in mind. We had another girl, Verity, who said that she'd already for years been thinking about us doing a social enterprise. So if you can start that now and they're not too young, this is the time where you can have real impact. And what we do is InspirEngage works with the students to develop their skills, match that up with mapping their community, looking at the world in a much broader way, but interactively, creatively, doing things, you know, actually being involved in creating the way we think, so it becomes a mindset and a behavior change with the way that we work, whilst also developing life skills. And then we're going to come back. They're going to run real social enterprises that generate real profits that are put into real causes in the community. So that's what the primary revolution is about. So yeah, watch this space and the revolution is coming.
Friends, red is fluffy bubble. This bag glows in the dark. Keep it glowing. I've really enjoyed today. It's been great and I'm going to have a lot of memories from here.
Wait 1 second.
I'm Lee Bradford, the Deputy Head of Stanley Dratkin Primary School, and we've had the most amazing day. InspirEngage International have visited our school as the start of the primary revolution. The idea is to engage children with social enterprise. And the children at this school, whilst they've learned about business and facts and figures through the curriculum, they've never really thought about what they might do with that money to benefit someone else. And today has really opened their eyes. So InspirEngage International has done exactly what it says on the tin. It's inspired them and it's engaged them, and I can heartily recommend it.
One day! Someone says! Do something good! Sing your right leg! 1, 2, 3!
So just wanted to kind of give you a quick flavour of what it looked like. The second part to this video I couldn't show you, but it's them coming back after this and running real social enterprises in their schools of making a difference and then putting that money into their community that they actually did using maths, science and English. So that's kind of what the future of education can look like. By the way, I know you were probably thinking she's got really long hair and now she has really short hair. 2 weeks ago, I literally walked into a hairdresser. They cut all my hair like to here, like there was this much, and I donated it to a charity which make hair wigs for children with cancer. So if any of you have long hair thinking of cutting it, then donate it to a charity that makes wigs for children with cancer, because it's brilliant. So, right, now let's look at what New Age education can look like. So, what are the components we need to looking at real education that is relevant today in our world? Firstly, we need to be focusing on life skills, not just education and curriculum. We need to make space and make time for young people to learn real life skills. Like what? Like empathy. You know, that skill of caring and how you care and what you can do with it. Like confidence. Being able to have the confidence to feel good about yourself and to be able to speak up and to be able to walk into an interview, shake hands, sit down, ask questions. Communication skills, negotiation skills, team working. These are all, they call it soft skills, but I think soft is too weak of a word for something so fundamentally important. So there has to be space in the new education era for a real focus on life skills. That's the first thing. Secondly, career. Education has to
prepare young people for the world of work and business. There is no point in them just getting straight A grades if really then they are not prepared to go into work or then don't have those skills. And that initiative and responsibility has to come from you yourselves as well, us ourselves. But we have to think about the outcome in terms of career outcome for young people to go and have happy careers. And the third thing, impact. We have seen such massive outcome and benefit for those who've engaged with social enterprise in education on their academic achievement also. So when you have impact and you make a difference, it makes a big difference then for you and your academic achievements. So skills, career and impact. So at InspirEngage, just to give you a flavor of how we work, so our approach to training is this. I'll just touch on it very briefly. In-room application. There's no point learning something in theory if it's not applied within the room. You have to apply it. So if you learn about project management, we will get you to actually do project management in the room. Secondly, energy wave disruption. Okay, on a daily level, your energy wave is kind of like here. When something really bad happens or something really good happens, your energy wave goes up and down. When you're shocked, upset, all these things, nervous. But that's when a spark opens up for you to create change. We create that for you in the bootcamp. The InspirEngage Skills Bootcamp, we use shock tactics to open that window for your energy wave disruption so you can create change within yourself. Self-exploratory, we don't tell you where you need to go. It's for you to discover what's important for you and where you want to go, and you explore your own path. Tailored, everybody's different, cultures are different, we've worked in 100 different countries, things have to be tailored to suit different people. So identity personal branding, this is key for anything that we focus on when working with people. People have to tap into who they are and what they want to do with it. And this is connected to this quote, which underpins how we work at InspirEngage. Everybody is a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's going to live its whole life believing that it's a failure. You can't devise one route to success for people. A fish can't climb a tree, but it's good at something else. And we have to allow people to explore what they're good at and let them be successful at that. We work with students who are failing, who had really difficult skills in being able to communicate, and we've been able to support them to be more academically accomplished and to be able to make a difference through social enterprise. Just by feeling valued and creating value for someone else has had a huge impact on them. Passion phenomenon. People are now making passion their career. Passion has a place in business, and that's what we're seeing, a huge trend. So Nathaniel had a passion for running. He set up a social enterprise, which was a running club. This is a picture of him in the Nike store at Oxford Circus, because Nike heard about it and wanted to support it. Every week now, they meet up as a young people, as a group, and they run around London, see the sights, it's safe, and it gives them something to do. So it's a social enterprise that this chap just turned it into a social enterprise out of his passion. Honor Evans collects shoes that people don't want anymore. I know we all have extra shoes we don't need. And she upcycles them and then she sells them. Another social enterprise, someone who's passionate, and she's 13 years old when she started it. I also think, as a final thing, there's a note to educators. Educators are important in the conversation about education. We trained educators to be able to be more interactive. This is a picture of a training we did where the educators were observing our session with young people, and afterwards I actually had a teacher come up to the host, who's British Council actually, and she looked really worried. In Arabic she was saying something, she was like, and then I said, what did she say? And the teacher had said that now that her students had seen what a classroom could look like, she was really worried that they wouldn't listen to her again because she had been so formal education all the time. We need to change the way that education is taught to be more interactive and exciting for young people. We need to have the courage to do the right thing, not what's easy. If children are misbehaving or having issues, we need to help them to address that as opposed to just exclude them. And teaching teachers to be more enterprising and to create value for their students. But the business world is changing. So the world's largest taxi company has no vehicles. The world's most popular media owner creates no content, Facebook. The most valuable retailer, Alibaba, has no inventory. The world's largest accommodation provider owns no real estate. The business world is changing. The world is changing. So education has to change. Education, which fundamentally prepares you for this, has to change to suit the times. And there was a note earlier about the role of corporates. I agree. Corporates have a role in this. They have to also be responsible and support the process in how they create change. And that is changing, but there's more that needs to be done, pressure on corporates to create that change. And here are some of the clients that we've been working with, the corporate sector, but more needs to be done. And finally, I want to do a memory test with you, okay? You've got 3 seconds to look around the room and remember everything that's red, and then you're going to close your eyes, okay? Look around, remember everything that is red color. 1, 2, 3. Everybody close your eyes? Everybody close your eyes? Okay, now tell me everything that was green. Open your eyes.
You.
We need to...
You.
Oh, yeah, see? See? This is the psychological trick of fashion. So... But seriously, in reforming education, we've been told to look for red. We have to retrain our mind and change our vision to change education. That's what we have to do, to think differently. So here's the changing world of education. We need to be more creative, allow more value in the classroom, be more enterprising, and make things more exciting for students. So with that, I want to welcome you to be part of this change. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for a brilliant sharing. And I think we missed a very important guest to be here, the Permanent Secretary of Education. He should be here. He should learn about how to create change on our education system, right? Anyway, we'll discuss more later on. Okay, Alberto, it's your turn. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Wow, these girls, they do so much amazing work. I think it's gonna be hard to top that, right? So, social entrepreneurship. Seriously, I had no idea what this was all about until about 3 years ago, 2013. Last night during dinner, I was speaking to Melody's husband, and he said, wow, Melody was there in Malaysia for the Global Entrepreneurship Summit. I was like, I was there too. And then he said something very interesting to me. He said, the niche of real social entrepreneurs who care about what they're doing is very small, and it's just getting started. This reminded me of a really interesting piece actor, author, and philosopher Jason Silva said a couple of weeks ago on one of his videos. It's called The Big Picture. It reminded me of, he used it as an anecdote. He said, the very first picture that was taken from vantage point of outer space of planet Earth gave us a whole new perspective. This brought us to self-evaluate ourselves, how to do things better, how to become more globally aware, globally responsible, and as global citizens. You see, when you look at things from up above, there are no boundaries, there are no flags. There's just us, global citizens. And this is what this era of social entrepreneurship is doing. And it's amazing how so many people gather here together to do these things. And the point of this forum, in my view, is to share and take ideas from all of you. So I will try to briefly share what I've done, and at the same time, I'll just keep on taking more of what they've said, and others will continue to say. So without further ado, my name is Alberto Matus, born and raised in Belize, Central America. I'm not sure if you know my country, but I'm pretty sure after my presentation you will. So, I was born and raised in Belize. I'm actually kind of lucky to be here, you know. I come from a very low-class family. I had to work when I was about 10. My dad is a welder. He still is. He can't stop working. I used to work in the garage fixing tires. Man, I remember I was so small. Huge tires. Breaking them, taking off the tires, fixing them, patching the holes. But now, here I am. And do you know why I believe that is? It's because of education. Education is our most fundamental right. And yet, so many children don't have access to the education that others do. And in my country, Belize, some of the minorities, the indigenous groups, these are the groups who don't have access to the proper education. And I'm an IT guy. I didn't own a computer, you know, until I was in sixth form. And my area of study is IT. I got out studying IT without getting the basics, but I had to push and push and push. I learned. And now, it's inspired me so much, technology. There's so many things you can do. And again, this world is changing so fast that information technologies, they're being introduced to classrooms. But yet these rural schools don't have the basic means to an education. And now how can they access the technologies that are being introduced? So it's a twofold step. And as an IT guy, I'm very, very, very interested and fascinated with the technologies and how they can better education as a whole. So let me tell you a story. Jose and Maria. They're from a small village. They're the same as I was, low-class family. But Jose and Maria, you know, in Belize, they're amongst the 45% of students who won't be able to get in an education. And if they do, you're not sure if they're gonna end up finishing primary school. The dropout rates in Belize are so high. It's the dynamics. It's just what it is. These families in rural areas, they have this mentality, right? If I didn't go to primary school and I'm making it so far, why do you need to go to school? We need to break that cycle. The cycle will just continue to go on and go on if you do not educate these small kids. But at the same time, you have to reach the parents. So what have we done in Belize? I must give credit where it is due. I didn't found this enterprise as per se. It wasn't my idea. It was my professor's. PhD candidate at the moment, Mr. Kieran Ryan, started this enterprise as basic projects. I was his student. He taught me how to do repairs on computers, how to connect things, everything IT related. So now we used to go to the primary schools in rural areas and try to see how we can implement IT in the classroom. We got several donations of computers from the schools that didn't want them. We went, we placed them into the schools. Then he was like, why don't we take this a step forward? Let's make it actually something real. And he created the Belize Primary Web Labs, wireless web labs, sorry. So his main goal, and it still remains, is equal access for all. He says if urban schools are getting technology, why shouldn't the schools in rural areas not get it? So what we did is we proposed several things, and we were so lucky that we got a sponsorship to deploy the pilot project. We got some money donated by Rotary clubs from Canada. We got over 200 netbooks. Why netbooks, you may ask? Because netbooks are much portable. They don't use as much electricity. There's no need to create an actual infrastructural lab with AC or any of the sort. You can easily go deploy it, right? So we got this, but we also needed to be conscious of how are we going to make this sustainable. We can't go and give the 200 laptops. What happens then? What about the other schools? How will they get it? So we took the approach of giving half to different schools, and the other half, we sold them at a low cost to teachers in the rural schools at a payment plan procedure. So actually, in the long run, as months went by, the profits were made. We got more laptops, brought them to the schools, and implemented it further along. Luckily enough, we also got support from the government who gave us the go-ahead. Any IT infrastructure that was being imported or donated to us was being tax exempted. We got support again from the Canadian Rotary Clubs. But at the end, we also had to think about, okay, we're deploying computers in the primary schools, but how are we measuring the impact that this is having? If we have no form of measure, then what's the point, right? So as he went to study along, we made it very simple, actually. In India, it has been done in New Delhi. There has been research, and it's very funny, you know. There was this guy who just went, placed a computer in one of the most rural areas, and kids were actually learning by themselves. So we conducted a lot of research for his papers also. So it was a twofold story. How can we get the measurements, and how can he benefit from this? So what we did is, this time we used tablets. We brought it into the schools, and students were given the tablets to use. Khan Academy, as one of the former presenters said, was used in evaluation. We gathered former papers from the primary schools who took an exam, an annual exam. They put it in digital form. We gave it to the students. Take a test before actually using the IT technologies, and then later on, we let them try it. Continue and continue and continue to explore along the way. And then in the end, we gave them the same exam, right? And the results were amazing. Because even if it's like so little, in a way, the change is there. It is amazing how these technologies in the classroom can make a difference. And then the students, they started taking these IT technologies and using it by themselves, just as what happened in India. It's the same concept, right, that was being used. The students learn by themselves better. In Belize, less than 45% of the teachers are actually properly trained. We're way below than other countries in Latin America and the Caribbean. But if we use these technologies in the classroom, there are differences. It's just a matter of how to get them in there. And that's what Belize Primary Wireless Web Labs is all about. So we also have to think, though, this schema doesn't always work with the whole funding and the funding and gathering of monies from other bodies, right? So at the current level, what we're trying to do is that instead of using the same technologies that are being sold to teachers, we're trying to use the tourism and travel industry to support the gathering of these IT technologies. You know, in Belize, 33% of the GDP and, sorry, not the GDP, but actual jobs are created by the tour and travel industry. And that is just directly. Imagine when it comes to other things as the agriculture industries and manufacturing and other things that correlate to what tourism needs. It rises above close to 70%. So we're thinking, why not use the travel and tourism industry to support what we're doing. At the college where I work, there are different departments. There's the IT, there's the tourism, there's all sorts, right? And the students, they're studying, but at the same time, they're not getting enough experience. So currently what we're trying to do is to develop this travel venture that will incorporate the use of students in the whole implementation process of delivering travel services to customers who are environmentally aware and who are actually looking to do something with what the overall benefits that a company gives. As one of the speakers said yesterday, today consumers are self-aware. They're voting with their dollar. So if we use the travel and tourism industry to boost the entire IT infrastructure in the schools, we're doing two things at the same time. We're giving students the overall experiential learning, and at the same time we're generating profits to further continue the Belize primary and wireless web labs. I have a short video that on Belize so that you can see why it's a really, really great place where people go to.
Writer Aldous Huxley recognized that Belize's obscurity is its greatest resource. Located only 2 hours from the United States and the only English-speaking country in Central America, today, Belize is Mother Nature's best-kept secret. Belize has many secrets to discover. The largest barrier reef in the Northern Hemisphere, washed by turquoise seas and dotted with palm-studded coral sand islands. Beneath the Caribbean Sea lies a world full of color, movement, and spectacular marine life. Where the sea meets the land, discover another secret of Belize, one composed of green earth and aerial mountains, teeming with exotic birds of all colors, shapes, and sizes. Beside peaceful lagoons and jungle streams, rise towering trees draped by vines and orchids. In Belize, you can have natural wonders all to yourself, float down jungle rivers, or fly through the forest canopy. Under the jungle floor hides another Belize, waiting to be discovered, full of wonder and mystery. You'll discover Belize is a spiritual landscape, the Caribbean gateway to the ancient Maya world, a perfect proportion between works of man and the wild beauty of nature. In contrast to the grandeur of the ancient Maya, are their humble and proud descendants of today. So many different cultures in Belize exist peacefully, side by side. So much diversity on land, under the sea, and beneath the ground. Belize inspires you to fully inhabit every extraordinary moment. As one of the last unspoiled places on Earth, you'll feel an intimate and authentic connection to a treasury of life-changing experiences. Be one with the wonder. Be one with the excitement. Be one with Belize.
So how many of you would like to visit Belize? You see, the whole point is to use an industry that is already booming to generate profits to help another area or sector in the country that needs helping, right? And as I said, I'm very focused in the IT section. So using this industry, there is promise. it's already been tested. The profits, the entire GDP of the country is dependent in some way or the other in tourism. And by using this, we can continue to further the project even more longer along the way and change different things that need to be changed. At the end of the day, as I said earlier, it's all about our global responsibility to make changes and how to further help the communities. Anything else? I believe during the discussion we can dialogue more on. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Alberto. Yes. I think we totally being attracted by the wonderful scenery, the fishes, and all the wonderful environment. I think we really want to be there. But before I open the floor, I want to ask Melody. I think you introduced the social enterprise education even into the primary education, and then you even grow them to really carry out the experience running a social enterprise inside the school. I want to know how would be the response from the parents. Yeah, and I will later tell you how the parents in Hong Kong are so eager on. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was really interesting actually because the parents play such an important role. And when that video that you saw with the primary students, the Primary Revolution program, when they opened it up and held their stalls for their social enterprises and were selling and trading services and all of that, we invited the community and their parents to see and be involved. So they came and they'd seen the journey of their children, and then they saw them in action, they bought from them, bought from other stalls. And so it was really good, and I think it's important to engage the parents, to support them at home and to continue, and also just to say, like, well done. Like, that's brilliant, like, oh, it's so good, it's so good to see you in that, and, you know, it was really good. And for them to see education differently as well, that it isn't just about the classroom and sitting and books. Those things are important as well, but there's so much more. So they really enjoyed it.
How about, you know, in Hong Kong, all schools are in ranking. Because the parents will pick up those who have higher rank with the long queuing to enter to there. Would your primary revolution really bring up the school have a higher ranking and the reception by the parents?
Well, I mean, that goes back to how schools are ranked and what's important and what, you know, what is it exactly they're being measured on. I mean, now in England, for example, there is so much more of a focus on how are they preparing students for work? How are they, you know, supporting enterprise skills in students? So
even from primary school?
Less so from primary school, but it's definitely something that they're looking at. So we need to encourage schools to also measure and look at these things as an important part of central education as well. But I think that, you know, there are students who aren't always, maybe less so in this region because education is so encouraged at such a young age, and children, you know, are so incredibly intelligent and work so very hard, and I think that's a cultural trait. But not everybody is built for education. Not everybody's built for the classroom. People learn in different ways. Some it comes naturally. For some, they don't feel like that's their natural habitat. So we have to create other ways for children to be successful. You know, we have to other ways for them to show their skills. So one of the things from the parents is that if their children were struggling in formal education, and then they came and saw them thriving and selling and being really good and, you know, feeling really successful, you know, it made the parent feel good, like, actually my child is really talented and is really, you know, and I think that's important.
So are the students in UK, they are busy at DSA or TSA or DSC, some sort of so-called, a lot of examination. Are they the same like Hong Kong?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I mean, education is about examination. I mean, I'm not knocking that. Like, I'm really not saying that we shouldn't have exams or we shouldn't have books and we shouldn't have, you know, straight A grades. And I'm not against that. I'm just saying that that isn't the be-all, end-all of education in its entirety.
But the last question I want to ask, how you motivate and convince the principals to have you enter and to carry out the primary or, well, a lot revolution inside the school campus?
I mean, they, like schools, have a responsibility to show that they have students who've gone in to work or have gone into, well, in primary school cases, have gone in successfully into high schools and been able to produce grades. They also understand that they need to be enterprising. Not all. There are some that we can't work with because they don't have that vision, and that's, you know, there's not that much we can do with those, just to show them the benefit. But what we say to them is, let us do a taster for 2 hours with a group of students, and let us show you the impact.
Yep.
And if it has an impact on their educational achievements, like their grades, then even better, then they love us, you know? So I think it's just about showing the benefits, doing a taster, and letting the students be the voices of the change rather than for us, you know? And I think that makes a difference.
That's good. Alberto, do you have any question to ask Melody? No. Anything you learned from her?
Yeah, I like how she runs the overall program, you know, like going from place to place, especially the schools, and dealing with the kids, because everything starts from the bottom.
Right, from the bottom of the pyramid. How about any question you want to ask Alberto after you learning his story?
I think it's so incredible that you have taken something that you were a student in and been able to say, actually, I feel passionately about running this. And then you've really bought into it and feel that sense of ownership. And I think this story that Alberto shared about his experience is the opportunity we need to engage more students in, is that if they're students, they could be future CEOs of that company. Get them in, teach them the skills, get them to learn, get them to feel passionately about that vision, which is what your mentor did. And now, I think that's an incredible story, actually.
The overall project has like branched into several little niches in a way, It's not like a one-pace direction. I mean, over the years that we've been doing this, we've gathered more supporters. For instance, the National Tsinghua University from Taiwan, they've been going to Belize and helping us from like 2012 up to this year.
Yep.
Recently, they just spent 40 days with us doing camps and actually providing scholarships for students to continue their secondary education. We go from house to house doing evaluations. Do you really need a study? No, wait, sorry, that would be wrong to say. How needy are you then? I mean, all of them have needs and things, but we have to evaluate since we can only sponsor a certain amount of students, right? But it's an ongoing process of getting IT equipment into the schools, preparing them how to better use it and how to continue the project. Because without things being sustainable, then it just crashes and ends, that's it.
Good. So how about I open the floor to you guys. You can have comments, you can have questions, either in Chinese or English. You're welcome. So the microphone is over there. Yeah, we have the younger retiree here.
Thank you. I'm a parent of 2 kids, and just now seems like it's emphasizing about bringing in the entrepreneuring and the school. But actually, for me, our social enterprise is more like doing do-goods, good deeds for the society. So, for instance, like my kids, I will always encourage them to do some, for instance, like joining the Cub Scouts. Instead of bringing this kind of entrepreneurship in school. So I would like to know how you can really bring in this kind of concept, entrepreneurship, to to our kids today, and tell them it's good for the society. While they're thinking maybe why I can't just join some social services like Cub Scouts or like this. What's the difference?
Good. Melody?
I mean, honestly, I don't think that it's a hard sell. I don't think that it's so difficult to convince young people. You just have to show them and engage them. I think that there needs to be better links between the schools and the community. Like, let's invite the community. Like, say, for example, in an area where there's school. So what school does your child attend? One of them. Okay, what's the school called? Okay, Chatter College.
Shatin College.
Shatin College?
Yeah, it's a location.
Okay, so that college, okay? Now, in that area, there might be a brilliant organization who are very small, who do great work, and who need support of students who perhaps can design flyers for them, or who can get involved at events for them, or, you know, come and engage with young people they work with, or whatever. There might be very pockets of really great work happening around that area, around that college. The school has to build links with these great organizations and say, what do you need? What are you doing? What's going on? And then engage the students in utilizing their skills, their talents, and also their area of study, because I think that's an important feature of what we were trying to do, and the reason we were kind of successful with it is because we respected the curriculum. It wasn't just this add-on thing. We wanted to say, look, we want to enrich the curriculum. So those ties need to be formed in the community, and then we need to show them, look, education is real. What are your skills? Oh, you're really great at this. Great, let's use that. Nobody would be against feeling valued, feeling like you're making a difference, using your skills, and also then engaging the business community, because the business community can be involved in funding that, can be involved in supporting that. And I think it's just about cultivating these relationships, but creating a cultural shift as well in people's minds and attitudes about these things happening in formal education settings. That it might be a relatively new thing, but I think that when people are engaged, even the teachers don't like it at first, because they think we have enough to do, I have a busy schedule, I have a whole curriculum, I'm really working hard to achieve A grades for students, you know, they don't like to be given new things to do. But when you engage the teachers, and one of the things we do at Social Enterprise Revolution, which again is really important, is that before we train the young people, we train the educators. But teachers don't like to be taught. So we call it the champions training. Like we call it that they become social enterprise champions. So we get them involved and we say, look, you know your students better than we do. So we engage them to design how they're going to create change for students. And I tell you, a teacher is just a hat. When you take that hat off, you're a human being who wants to make a difference, who also wants to feel valued. Teachers want to feel good about themselves and to be able to make a difference as well. And so they do that and we engage them. It's all about engaging, cultivating relationships, having the conversations, showing people what it can look like, get them to feed their soul, and then they feel, yes, this is good. But it's got to be connected to the education, because that's what the link is.
Yeah. So I think to supplement your answer, first of all, we are coming to have a University of Education. And then we have talked with the president to introduce this part of the element into the teacher's training, to let the teacher be liberal to accept that more, portion of the teaching on entrepreneurship, on community need to be included. And second, I think when we are doing social work, taught this as locality development. There is to have the cross-sector involvement in the education process, so that the student can start their experience of working and relating with the community at a young age. And thirdly, I think if you are the member of the Parent Teachers Association, then you got the say. You can motivate the school, hey, I want to introduce some new thing into the school, and then you unite the other parents to work together. You're not against or challenge the principal, but you're working together with the school to how to make this can be grounded at the school. Any supplement from you, Alberto? Are you a parent now?
No, I'm not.
So how do you think about her answer and also the question?
I really believe that it has to be introduced in a sort of way into the curriculum.
Yeah,
but at the same time, teachers not feeling forced, as she said, because then it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It has to be something natural.
Some incentive. Okay. Any further comment, question? Welcome, please. I can see a lot of parents here. So you may ask from your perspective as a parent. Thank you.
Hi, thank you both to the speakers, Alberto and Melody. It's very inspiring. I'm also a parent with 2 kids, and they're going to be entering primary school soon. So the social entrepreneurial skills that you focus on is very attractive. As I try to help my kids become more like more focused on the community and
Yep.
how they can make a bigger impact. So my question is on curriculum alignment. You mentioned a little bit about math and IT or English skills. How does that fit into your social enterprise program, and how does that align with schools, especially different types of schools offering different assessment standards? Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. It's so good that parents are so interested in supporting. That's brilliant. I love to see that. So, in answer to your question, what we do is that we sit down when we map and design the program, and the program is never delivered the same way twice. So we sit down and we say, okay, right, what is it you're delivering, and what are your students like? Because the students are also very different in area to area. So we try and understand that. We try and see what, how they're performing at the moment and so forth, and then we design the program to suit. So the link could be that, for example, so the IT. So the link between the IT and the social enterprise revolution and the primary revolution program is that for their social enterprises, they needed to produce materials. So these 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds, they were using IT, using their skills and what the curriculum had said they need to be learning to use it for their social enterprise projects. They were producing their flyers and thinking about that. English, so they were doing persuasive writing and persuasive pitching, thinking about language, thinking about how you would structure a speech, for example. Or maths, looking at their figures, looking at the sales, the profits, and how you work it out and how you would enter it into a spreadsheet. Or science, if they were studying science, could they do a project that was a social enterprise but science related? So there are so many links that could be made in them coming up with social enterprise projects that make a difference utilizing core curriculum study.
Yep. So I think that is to apply more cases together. Because I think nowadays in Hong Kong we have more than 550 social enterprise projects. So you can easily pick up anyone that can be put into your academic study and to put it as a case like accounting. Counting how much they can earn, how much they will lose, and this is a basic mathematical questions. And this can be very contextual. Yeah. Okay. Further questions, comment?
Yeah, anything you want to say?
Yeah.
Say it now.
In Chinese also, no worry. Or in your country's language, yes, please.
So hello, and thank you for your talk. Since I'm just curious, because Mr. Alberto had talked about some of the sources of income and funding for his social enterprise. So I'm wondering how InspirEngage is also funding or running
funding
its operations.
source. Yes.
Okay, so the way that we work is that we're not centrally funded. We purely work on contract basis. So people come to us and say, look, InspirEngage, we need X, Y, and Z services. This is what we need to achieve. We're very much led by the goal, like where do you want to go? What do you want to achieve? Who are the people we want to benefit? And then we design the services, and then they pay us a fee for it. So not they as in the young people or the women and the beneficiaries that we work with, but they as in the educational institution or the corporate who fund it, or the local government who want to deliver it, or the United Nations who we've worked with, or whomever the body is who have that group of beneficiaries that they want to impact, and then we charge a fee for it. And then some of those profits are put into the organization and the causes that we do, and a lot of it also is about for us to then be able to do some of the things we do free or voluntarily, because we've got the profits to back it up, to then be able to do things for people who really there is no fee, there is no income, there is no, who are the groups who really need that help. So it really differs the way that we work. Another thing we've started doing actually, which is so important in education, which was touched earlier on Meredith who was speaking, is online education. A lot of people want to do self-education, like they might not be in school, they might have been graduates, but they want to learn a new skill, they want to develop their negotiation skills, or develop their personal brand, or learn how to be social media managers. So what we're doing at InspirEngage is we're now putting on online courses for individuals to do. That you get a certification at the end of it, and then you take the course. So we're doing a course on social media, Instagram for business, for example. How can you utilize Instagram to build a business online? We're doing another one on personal branding. We're doing another one around lots of different topics for you to be able to self-educate. And I think that's a growing market, and that's between individuals. By the way, if you want to be on the list to receive any information about our online courses, just drop me an email at melody@inspirengage.com, and we'd be happy to kind of get that information to you. But I think that that's also another really exciting way.
I think Melody is suggesting we should explore different diversified medium or means to carry out the education message. And secondly, talking about how to start, particularly for the funding, I think it's related with your project management, and also make sure that you have a full cost budget recovery scheme. Because sometimes social entrepreneur always forget her own salary. Because they say, oh, I have to do that, so I will contribute, I will devote myself, but you still have your family to raise up. Okay, so I think it's important that we have to be very smart in doing the budget counting, the project development, and also, as Melody said, you can purchase her service in different medium, in different ways. Can be annual basis, can be project basis, or even can be item basis. So, Alberto, you are also offering this type of different diversity to the schools and also to the youth?
Sorry?
On the funding project that you help the school to develop the IT and bring up the network.
When it comes to the schools who receive, the overall continuation of the process is by using the same students where I work.
Yep.
They don't need to take into consideration anything about maintenance or any of the sort, because the same students who are getting the experience go to the schools on a continuous basis to do the maintenance. And then when it comes to the project itself, as I said at the beginning, we got sponsorship, but now it's going into the direction of using the travel industry to continuously sustain it, because if it's not sustainable, then, as I said, it will come to a halt.
Yeah, so what is the major source of your income now on your social enterprise?
Right now, it is the travel area. We're doing many advertisements for hotels. And
I see.
Yeah.
So make use of the social media to do the promotion.
But we also want to go independent.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, because I think at least you have to got 51% or more from your business operation as income. Then you can be set as a social enterprise successfully, right? Because I don't think we can count on the sponsorship or so-called government funding unless it's really a business transaction, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, please, the ladies at the front. Yeah. Yeah, the mic is coming.
Hi, thank you for all your insights. My name is Hema. I'm actually from a social enterprise from Singapore. So basically what we do is in Singapore, in the education system, we have service learning, which is integrated into our education system. But what happens is that many of the schools, they just send their students to like countries, and then their skills are not aligned, so they're not benefiting the community in that sense. So what we do is to make sure that the skills of the students are aligned. So like when a lot of the parents raised up their concerns, so what we do is like, if your child has an interest in, say, design, for example, so we kind of connect them to a social enterprise in Cambodia who use like war metal to make jewelry in a sense of peace and hope. So we like align their skills together. So that's what we do. And what we are trying to do now is to push for a social entrepreneurship course in Singaporean schools. But the thing is, it's a bit like the schools are not quite receptive, I would say, and we are also trying to see how we can like push it into schools. So I wanted to ask a question about like, if you're doing a course, for example, because we run courses for students, so if it's like 4 to 5 days, like, but what one of the challenges is it's such a huge industry. So like, what is the most important thing that you would like teach the students? What would be the most important? Because like it's a lot to teach.
Well, you mean with regards to social enterprise? Yeah. What is the most important thing to teach? To cover, for them to learn?
Yeah, and also like how do you make it experiential? Because you can just teach it book-wise, but how do they experience it, especially for students and stuff? When you said they run their own businesses, I just want to know how it's done. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's a good question, and it has a bit of a long answer, so I can't give you the full thing, because it's a very good question that needs practical examples, but let me give you the short answer to it. So I think in terms of what you teach, one of the mistakes I think you can make is being too prescriptive with what you design to teach people. Because that's the problem actually with formal education. It's sometimes too rigid to allow people to explore. So with our training programs, I always say to them that, I can't show you everything on paper because we will design something new tailored to you. That was one of our approaches. So with a social enterprise, because it's creative, because it's about self-exploration, because it's about being creative and open and allowing people to design something fresh and new, don't be too prescriptive with it. So in terms of teaching, don't come up with very strict modules and programs and workshop that you take off the shelf and you deliver it exactly everywhere. Don't make that mistake because it goes against what it is that we want to do. So I think that's the first thing. In terms of content and what, I think I'll say it from our learning perspective. One of the things I shared in my presentation was identity and personal branding. So identity and personal branding is our first module. It's like the foundation of which everything is built on. And why? Why is identity important, okay? The reason is because what you do may change, but who you are doesn't change. That's who you are. So Diane von Furstenberg, who's the designer, she said, I didn't always know what I wanted to do, but I knew the woman I wanted to become.
Yep.
Getting people to figure out what they're about, where they've come from, their story, owning that, and then figuring out what to do with it is the most powerful thing you can do for someone, really. Because that is a personal exploration thing. That links to your second part of your question about the self-exploration. So if you can support people to think about who they are, and that's the thing about what I said about being open, because then you're not defining. There's no way you could define someone's identity for them. You're simply helping them, and we use this tool called My Passport, where we get them to create their passport of who they are, where they've come from, what their passion is, what their strength is, what their motto is, where their goal is. All these different things, and that's one of our online courses actually, is to take people through that process of figuring out. But that, I think, is the core thing of what it's about. Why is that important for social enterprise then? What has it got to do with social enterprise? So social enterprise is about choosing your mission. It's about choosing your cause. Your cause and mission can come from understanding what it is you're about. Where have you come from? What have you experienced? And I think these are the real things that you could tap into in a short answer to your question of how you can create impact. The question about how you sell it to schools and how you get schools to engage. So here's another thing. Schools need to create money. They're like businesses in themselves, okay? That's the reality. Even if they're state funded, even if they whatever, they also need to operate like an entity, like a business. So one of the things we say to schools is, look, give me the resources you've got. What have you got? They tell me, we've got a restaurant, we've got a catering, we've got this, we've got that. Okay, these are untapped resources for a social enterprise. Why don't you set it up as a social enterprise to generate a revenue for you as a school or college or university? So they're making money, they love that. And they're making a difference, they love that too. And they're getting their students to run it. So they're developing skills and making money. Who doesn't like that? Again, another way which we're engaging with educational institutions to buy into social enterprise is you can actually generate money. And that the principal understands. So.
My experience is that we really need to go back to the needs of the students and the need of the schools. Because I think if we are only coming from supply-driven, oh, we want to do something for you, please. Sorry, we are busy. Sorry, we are going to have exam, we are going to have the DSE and TSA. Okay, so I think we have to start where they are. And then always when we go into a secondary setting, we call it, we really need to know what they need, other than what we want to do. Because always we are too ambitious that, I am the God come to save you. Sorry, no, we are not the God. We are the servant. We are the servant to encourage and facilitate the school to do better on the education impact. Yeah. Any supplement, Alberto?
Yeah, I really believe it's like a correlation between both parties, right? If they come to an understanding and an agreement on how to best provide and understand each other, then things can work out.
Yeah.
Can I also say as well, you know, in this conversation, I don't want us to forget about like young people who are not in the education system, because education is more than just education in schools, colleges and universities. Obviously the majority are in those educational systems, but we need to also look at tapping into young people who aren't in the system, and actually colleges, for example, because they need to get the students in, okay? And a lot of NEET young people, so, you know, those students, those young people who are not in education, employment or training, they also need to come, they need to get them in and study and offer those opportunities. So when an organization like InspirEngage, for example, or the Really NEET project come in and can engage the groups that they haven't been able to access, then they like that. They think, great, because now we can get new students in who we otherwise wouldn't have been able to reach and offer them those opportunities that they may want or may not want. So that, I think, and what else can social enterprises do to offer education opportunities for those children and young people who are not in education? I think that's a very important conversation as well. And who funds that? You know, and we need to do more to find those opportunities as well. That shouldn't get lost in this conversation.
Certainly. Good. Good suggestion and remark. Because we still have a lot of so-called unemployed or school dropout students. And then some of them we call it Jatlama. They stay at home and never come out for years. And then they create a lot of long-term consequence issues that we need to pay attention to. Okay, any further question and comment? Yes, please. This one and that gentleman, yeah.
Hi, my name is Tweety. I just want to ask you a question regarding the social enterprise program in the schools. I understand that you went into school. I think it's actually a very good idea for the students to learn life skills, etc. However, may I ask a question? The first is whether the program is only run for a short period of time. If yes, how can you make sure that they can continue the benefit in the future?
Sustainability, yeah.
Very good question. Oh, I'm loving your questions. Great. So, it's a one-year program in the academic year. That's the first thing. But the schools can choose, the colleges, universities, they can choose how much they... If they tell me we've only got this amount of time, then we try and tailor
There's
it.
There's a lot of options.
Yeah, so we make it suit, but it's a one-year program. Second part of your question, how can they sustain it? Brilliant question. The way that we do it is that there's lots of ways they can that we try and help them to. One of the ways is when we trained the educators to become social enterprise champions, it's part of their role to sustain the program beyond our involvement. That's part of the champion's role, so we train them to do that. And two, we do train the trainer programs for the educators and for the educational institutions to also then be able to take the program and deliver it themselves. And we do that in a number of ways, but one of the ways is we make the boot camps accessible on an online tutorial program, so they can have the videos and materials that they deliver themselves, and that way you're reaching more students than you would have done had you just trained them face to face, because that's only 35 people per boot camp. But through an online tutorial program you can reach a wider number. So there's some of the ways that they can opt in to sustain it themselves.
Great, thank you. And the gentleman, there's a question from the gentleman there. Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mr. Lee. I'm a vice principal in a secondary school. Yes,
welcome.
Thank you. And I brief my background just because I have a question. How many of people here, sitting here, are come from education field in Hong Kong?
How many? From education sector?
Yes, not many, as expected. This is something more or less, in certain extent, reflect the situation in Hong Kong right now regarding to the issue that we are talking about here.
Yes.
It seems that for the years, we advocate quite a lot for the social enterprise or social responsibility in Hong Kong relating to NGOs, to business fields, but may not be put as much effort to the schools, to be honest. I can say teachers in Hong Kong are more are willing and more open to receive new ideas and make some good practice as long as they understand what is the whole thing's about.
Yes.
So my suggestion is, how about next year, or starting from after the summit, do something to advocate, focus on teachers.
Yes.
Let them know what this is all about.
Right.
And then just like what Melody did, it is quite inspiring.
Mhm.
And then everything should be possible.
Yes.
For the curriculum, for principals' views, I think this is so-called, the obstacle so-called can be tackled.
Yes.
As long as the summit or the other organization create the platform for mutual dialogue, I think everything
Great.
can be possible.
Thank you. Thanks for your great idea. And yeah, go
No,
ahead.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to echo what you were saying.
Yes.
Just saying that I think that's a brilliant idea, and thank you so much for what you've just said. And I think that shows the willingness, actually, what you said is very powerful. And to that end, I mean, one of the things that we did was, there's head teachers associations that here as well, also, I'm sure. So we went and worked with them. And one of the things we did was we said, look, share what you're doing. Share the great things that you're doing. And they started sharing, we do this, we did this worked, this didn't work. That simple thing, just opening dialogue, like you've just said, I think is a very powerful thing. And the way that you get them on side is that sense of ownership and engaging them so they feel part of it. So I think
and I want to also inform you that actually there are several social enterprises in Hong Kong now penetrating in the schools, talking about OLE on social enterprise. Because all schools have the OLE sections. And sometimes you are really busy and difficult in finding what material you are going to offer to students. And then there have been 2 social enterprises in Hong Kong. They apply funding from the government already. And then we'll introduce the 社企通通識, into the primary and secondary schools. So if you wish, please give me your contact, and I can refer you to that organization. And I also pledge to all educators here, please, when the social enterprises knock your door, please open the door, allow us to go inside. Because I know that you got a lot of agenda priorities. Please reserve some space for us, please. Okay, the last question, because I know that you are hungry. Yes, the lady at the front. Thank you.
First of all, thank you to speaker for the very inspiring sharing. And my name is CityU, and actually I'm in charge of a funding program for using design technology for a social innovator who have an idea and on their project, but they don't know how to whether it is work or not, and with a social mission. And so actually I want to ask Melody and Alberto about. Actually, when you are starting your business and also when you teach the students, they usually, at the very first stage, the seed stage, they must face many challenges and also failure. And how you or can you give us some tips or how you motivate your students or motivate even primary students when you start your program for them, and they must came across many challenges. And about the sustainability, echo what the ladies asked you. And when the students, they must graduate, right? And after they graduate to the secondary school, and how you make sure the students in the other sector, they still use their idea, the skills to keep on doing what they would like to achieve.
How to 包生仔.
Yeah. And also any tips for the all the social innovator when they face failure? Yes, thank you.
Yeah, not only one question, 3 questions. You can choose to answer one. Okay, anyone, which one you would like to answer?
Well, my one is a bit different since we're not really involved in the schools as per se. We've been doing work for the schools.
Yes.
So the overall perspective is a bit different.
Right.
It's different between us both, right? But but when it comes to like our project, how we started it, we already had a model based on it, right? Since we had been doing work with schools. And so we had that to present to the funders and what the overall impact would be. So by having something small that is a basic framework for what you're gonna further continue doing is essential in the startup phase, because if you're gonna present to someone, you have to have some sort of backup background, you know, for it. But I can't really vouch for anything in the education part of it.
I'll take your question about the motivation quickly. So let's remove the kind of pressure on people for the success and outcome.
Right.
Let people explore. Let them try things. Try it.
Yes.
It works, great. Do more of it. It doesn't work, fine. Try something different. Like, it's okay. Like, I think we have to just remove the constant pressure on children and young people to produce results, outcome, because you feel. And the other thing is that, you know, stats show that psychological tests have shown that if you praise young people for their process, they respond much better than if you praise them with a label.
Sure.
So if you say to your children, oh wow, you're so intelligent all the time, they feel the pressure to constantly be intelligent, so they try less. Whereas if you say to them like, wow, I really like the way you put yourself forward, it's very brave, or I love the way you did that, they respond so much better and are more willing to put themselves forward and try. So that's how you motivate, is let people try, let them be themselves, let them try things and just explore.
So let us have a happy education process. Let's learn it happily, is what you said, right?
Happiness is important. Be
exactly.
happy.
Yeah. So thanks very much for coming to this section. And then we have 2 souvenirs for our 2 speakers.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, please. And then,
Thank you.
So please, after your lunch, continue to join our remaining sessions this afternoon. And then we also have a very wonderful section, the final section, that our financial secretary, Mr. Zhang Zheng, will also come to dialogue with the young people. So please stay. Okay, thanks very much. Bye-bye.